developing new buildings that are smart ready, or we want to think that they are smart ready. We put sensors and everything, but in the private spaces, in private offices, some of the tenants, in fact, most of the tenants tell us that they don't need those things. They don't need those. So we have put an investment in, and then people don't use it. So we have the opposite problem. I mean, how would you address that? Obviously, you would put everyone in the same table. You were talking about sitting everyone around the same table, but is there a way that we can convince internally that this is a good investment for us?
What I would say is most of the organisations that we deal with are quite large, and they have their own way, they have their own standards, they have their own system. So I personally don't see a huge benefit in putting too much in, trying to predict what the tenant is going to require, because you don't know that, right? And typically they're putting in their own infrastructure, everything, you know. So you know, there's obviously some building management systems and so on that should be smart or enabled or connected and allow the tenants to connect to it, but the majority of the systems actually will reside in the tenancy, right? So they're doing their own fit outs, they're doing it their own way. So I think the responsibility is on them more so than on the building owner. I think the building owner needs to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to enable that.
Yeah, I fully agree that the infrastructure needs to again be flexible to kind of cater for the use cases that might come. But there are certain things that can be done. For example, what I am a big fan of is having sensors deployed in the lighting fixtures. So you can already basically pay for the investment of the sensors from the energy efficiency, and then you enable the smart readiness of different kinds of use cases, whether it's about, again, this location enabling, or whether it's about other kind of data that can be pulled out of those sensors. So there, it's actually very useful for the tenant. Now, to answer your question as to how to make them understand that it's actually good to have this smart ready technology, I think it's really this discussion between value and technology. So if you say, hey, we have great sensors in place, then they might go, but then what? But if you address the situation with, okay, what are you trying to enable your workforce to do, and kind of try to make them follow you on that train of thought, I think they will get there. Because I find it interesting, unless it's a very small organization, then agility really is a little bit diluted, because if you have 10 people in a space.
So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. So if you do a base building fit out and you put all these light fittings in and sensors and so on, the first thing the architect's going to do when they walk in, they're going to go, yeah, we're going to get rid of that, we're doing a feature ceiling here, it's all going to come out. So it's fine if it was Walmart or someone like that, like, you know, that it's a stock standard kind of environment, but when most of these workplaces these days, I mean, there's this huge architectural element involved, and a lot of that evolves around the ceiling, the lighting, and so on. So I just think, to me, the amount of projects that I've seen over the years where the builder builds this building and they fit it all, like not fit it out, but do base build, and then the tenant comes in and rips it all out, and it's such a waste.
Yeah, and that is true, that's an issue, but I think in terms of these sensors, the question I get faced a lot is it's so expensive to retrofit. I don't want to retrofit. I need to do all the cabling and ripping everything out. I can't get the ROI on it. So that's why I think that at least for the tenants who don't want to rip out everything and don't want to do everything in the, let's say, fancy feature ceilings, that is a real value that they appreciate. On the other hand, then of course you need to be able to adapt. So if you want a feature ceiling or whatever, something different, then you are able to also do that.
I suppose it depends on the client. Like if you talk the top end of town, they're going to do it their way, and as I said, they want it back to bare bones. And if it's you know, maybe a smaller client, well, maybe they are happy with that kind of fit out.
Is this the kind of conversation you have back at the office?